After Anakin was defeated on Mustafar, he was left to burn before Emperor Palpatine would bring him to a surgical reconstruction center on Coruscant. He would then enter a surgery, and whatever was left of Anakin Skywalker would slowly fade away, as it was here he would become Darth Vader. In both the novelization of Revenge of the Sith and the Legends novel, The Rise and Fall of Darth Vader, we learn of what his exact thoughts were throughout this entire surgery and what we really don't get to see during the film. Unlike a normal operation, a patient would usually have an anesthetic for something like this. However, in Vader's case, he was awake for every moment of it by the order of Sidious himself. He wanted Vader to feel every ounce of pain, and let's just say because of this, his thoughts were a lot more horrifying than you may think. So sit back, relax, and let's get right into it. Anakin woke up on an operating table, surrounded by droids. Crazy enough, even throughout everything, he somehow still referred to himself as Anakin. He laid down on the surgery table as droids were attaching robotic limbs to his quivering torso, which was strapped to the table by strong metal belts. Anakin felt every single ounce of pain. He felt each cold metal blade that sliced into his scarred flesh, allowing more tools to probe and stabilize his damaged organs. Despite the damage throughout the entire procedure, he never stopped screaming. Finally stabilized, Anakin laid quietly on the table to which he was still secured. He found himself in a gleaming black life support suit with a lighted control function panel set across his chest. Anakin watched as a robot mechanism above his head slowly lowered a black mask with oval vision receptors and a triangular respiratory vent over his face. Meanwhile, another mechanism placed a helmet over his skull. The helmet and the mask locked onto each other as they simultaneously bolted to the armored ring that was wrapped around his neck. Fully encased within the pressurized suit, he heard a labored mechanical rasp, but then he realized this was the sound of his breathing. It came hard and harsh as it scraped his nerves that were already raw, but he couldn't stop it even if he wanted to because he didn't even have lungs anymore. The table tilted, raising Anakin's restrained body to a standing position. From the shadows of the operating room, the hooded Emperor stepped forward and said,
"Lord Vader, can you hear me?"
Vader, he thought to himself. Wait a minute, that's right, I'm Darth Vader. Anakin is gone. Vader exhaled and then said,
"Yes, Master."
The mask vocabulator had transformed his voice into a commanding baritone. He still felt weak, so with some difficulty he slowly turned his head, adjusting his vision through the helmet to better see the Emperor. The Emperor's face was gnarled and twisted, deformed by the Sith lightning that had been briefly deflected by Mace Windu during their battle.
"Where is Padme?"
Vader said in his new voice. After everything that happened, he was still concerned for her. He still loved her, and he still wanted to save her life.
"Is she safe? Is she all right?"
In his most sympathetic tone, Palpatine said,
"It seems in your anger, you killed her." I couldn't have."
Vader said with disbelief. "I loved her. I did everything I could to save..." He paused. The voice in his mind sounded strange to him. This was way weaker than the thunderous voice that came from his mask. He told himself that this burnt way harder than the lava ever did. He loved her, he thought. He will always love her. But then he started to remember it. He began to remember all of it. He started to recall choking Padme on Mustafar, watching her body crumble and fall on the landing pad. He thought to himself that he could have saved her and he could have gone away with her. But instead, when he could have been thinking about her, he was only thinking about himself. At this very moment, Vader finally understood the trap of the dark side. He now understood the cruelty of the Sith. And now, after everything is done, all he will ever have is himself. Vader snarled.
"She was alive. I felt it."
He raged and screamed and reached out through the Force to crush Sidious, who he blamed for all of this. But as he screamed, he felt so much less than what he once was. He was only half a machine now, and the power he used to have as Anakin Skywalker was only but a memory. He tried to destroy Sidious in that very moment, but all he could do was destroy the droids, the equipment, and the table around him. He then thought to himself that he didn't even want to kill Sidious, because in the end, that's the only person that he had left. He lurched forward, and somehow throughout all his anger, he suddenly sensed the final truth. That Padme was dead, along with their unborn child. He bellowed so loud and long that his cry echoed off the walls. Behind his mask, he squeezed his eyes shut in an effort to hold back the tears that he was physically unable to wipe away. All he knew for certain was that Padme was gone from him forever, and that there were more than a few Jedi still waiting to be killed. Devoid of love for anyone and unable to feel the touch of anything through his cybernetic fingers, Darth Vader was finally ready to embrace the dark side, and so he did forever.